Hey everyone, welcome to Reddit Readout. Today we are checking out AmItheA whole. Story 1. AITA for not wanting my husband to eat lobster in our house. I, F27, have a seafood allergy. Anything that comes from the sea will cause me to break out in hives, nauseated and difficulty breathing. It never got to the point of being anaphylaxis reaction, but I do not want to risk it. My husband, 27M, loves seafood, specifically lobster. He will eat it when visiting his parents, who lives 4H away, but never around me. His parents are coming to visit next week and are bringing lobster. My mill doesn't understand my allergy and think I just get a small rash. I just found out today. I told my husband absolutely not, he can go to our friend's house to eat it but not here. He told me how he will eat in the living room and I can stay in the bedroom. I said no, the smell is going to linger and I'll be nauseated for hours. He promised to clean up after and scrub. I said no, I don't want to risk it. We argued a bit more and this is where we are. He is usually really good about my allergy and always check in restaurants before going there if they sell seafood and will warn the waiters about my allergy. This is completely out of character for him, so I'm wondering if I'm being the here. Edit. Thanks everyone for the info. I had no idea I was already experiencing anaphylaxis. It's so scary how I'm not too far from anaphylaxis shock. Spoke to my husband again, and he read some. Story 2. AITA for not attending my graduation party and telling everyone why when they asked. My family has not celebrated anything to do with me since I was 12 years old. My dad and his new wife had a baby that year and I was kind of forgotten about. I would get birthday presents and such, but no party or anything. I got used to it and started a tradition of celebrating with my friends. We would go see movies or whatever. One of my friend's mom found out and started making me a cake every year for my birthday. When I graduated from high school, I had saved up enough money to go on a week-long vacation in NYC with my best friend and her mom to see Hades Town. I just finished university and I am starting my new job right away. I guess my dad had planned a big party for me as a surprise, but I didn't show up because I went out with my friends instead. When my family started asking me why I didn't show up after my father had gone through all the effort for me, I explained that he hadn't celebrated anything of mine in 10 years and I didn't know he had planned to do so this time. He told everyone I was lying, so I asked him to post any pictures he had from my birthday parties, extracurricular activities, or high school graduation. He obviously couldn't and everyone started shitting on him. Now he is mad for talking about private family matters. I am just going to go over there and pick up the few things I have left in that house and just move to my new city without dealing with this anymore. AITA. Story 3. AITA for telling a pregnant woman to sit on the ground instead of giving her my seat. My nephews both graduated from high school this morning and I wanted to sit up front, so I camped out a bit in front of the entrance. I brought my folding camping chair and my headphones to listen to my show. About 40 minutes before the school would let us inside, a pregnant woman got next to me since somebody let her in line, I assume her partner. She asked me within 5 minutes, politely admittedly, if she could have my chair as she was going to have trouble standing the whole time. I said no, sorry, I needed more, bad feet/knees, and went back to my things. She asked me again within 2 minutes and the answer was the same. She however got a little mad at me and said that she was going to be struggling the whole time and asked her partner to tell me. He asked me himself, politely, and I again responded that sorry but I needed more and suggested she could wait in their car or just sit in the ground. At this point the husband directly called me an asshole but left me alone. AITA. Story 4. AITA for making my dad's fiancé cry. My father, 54M, and his fiancé, 30F, have been together for about 6 years now. When they first got together, I, 17M at the time, was still living at home. She moved in about a month into their relationship, and I didn't have a problem with her at first, until she tried to actually mother me. I'm not talking about giving advice or being a supportive role model, more like giving me a 9 o'clock curfew. I live in a rural town, so that's a joke, and cleaning up after her dog has an accident. Every time I'd bring it up to my dad, he'd say just try, for me. Needless to say, I moved out soon after. Fast forward to a week ago. My dad invites me over for dinner, out of nowhere, as we haven't spoken in quite some time. I hesitantly accept, and spend the following few days trying to prepare myself for what they're going to say. I show up that night, bottle of wine in hand, anxious out of my mind. The night goes on for a few hours, us exchanging small talk, until I can't take it anymore and ask why they invited me. My dad said that they were getting married and wanted me to be his best man. I'm not going to lie, I laughed hard. This turned into the Fian crying because she thinks that I don't like her, and I told her she was correct. It should also be said that given the option between me or his Fian, my dad would choose her in a heartbeat. For example, I went on a 2-day camping trip. I had a spot in the garage for my car when I left, she had it when I got back until I moved out. And I really only care about that because hail damage I've been getting. Story 5. AITA for choosing to move across the country to be with my daughter, leaving my son and grandchildren behind. My wife passed away and I have been a little lost in life since. My daughter Ng moved to Colorado for college and made a life for herself. She and her husband are looking to buy their first home, and their budget is essentially the most fixer-upper of all time. My son-in-law is a great kid, but he is no handyman. Angie is a natural at this sort of thing though. I came up with the idea that I would move out to Colorado and help them fix up a home if they buy one. They immediately agreed. I've always been drawn to the Southwest. But more than that, growing up Angie, now 36FF, was a very troubled young woman. I also worked the night shift for most of her childhood. So there were years where I felt I didn't really know her. Her moving to CO was the best thing she ever did. She is a late bloomer, but she is trying now. I went to tell my son Eric, 40M, last week. He was incredibly surprised and very hurt. He and his wife have 3 kids, all under 5. He is upset that I'm choosing his sister over the grandkids, saying that they don't deserve to be discarded by their grandpa because his sister made a lot of shitty choices and can't afford to take care of herself. And that she had her chance at a childhood and it's their turn now, and that I have to be the one to tell them that I don't want to live by them anymore, I want to live by my daughter. I told him that I was disappointed in his reaction, and that he thinks that way of his sister. At that point, his wife got home and joined the pile on, talking about how she's shocked any grandparent would make this choice. Eric said that what, is Angie more important than his kids? And I said damn right she is, she's my daughter. He told me to leave, so I did. I really do have to wonder if I am the asshole here, if my choice is really that shockingly bad. Story 6. AITA for not helping an intoxicated woman. A few weeks ago I picked up my daughter from daycare and had decided to stop at the store on our way home to grab something quick for dinner. As we walked through the door of the store to grab a cart, we were immediately greeted by a very heavily intoxicated woman just standing in the middle of the entrance. She was very obviously a drug user as she had noticeable track marks scabbed up on her arms. I grabbed a cart and started to try and go around her, and I guess her shorts were too large for her and were continuously falling down, exposing her. Suddenly her shorts fell completely down to her ankles, exposing her entire behind. She was so messed up that she didn't even realize her shorts had fallen. The whole scene was very disturbing and I entered the store as quickly as possible. After doing my shopping and getting back to my car, I received a call from my mother-in-law. Still a bit disturbed at what I had seen, I told her what had happened. She asked me what I did to help, which admittedly was nothing, and I said as much. She absolutely flipped her shit on me and began screaming about how she now knows that I'm the type of person that's not going to take care of her. It was all so confusing and happened to so quick, I didn't even respond before she hung up on me. I was upset by the conversation, and unfortunately after hanging up, she had texted my husband about how awful of a person I was to ignore someone in need. By the time I got home my husband was fuming with me and greeted me by screaming at me about how I had neglected this random woman at the grocery and inadvertently treated his mother poorly as well. I tried to argue that I had our infant daughter with me who had been at daycare all day and I just wanted to get in and out so I could get her home, but I was told until I apologized to his mother I'd be sleeping on the couch. He then went into the bedroom and kept the door locked for the remainder of the night. The next day I decided to make peace with my mother-in-law. I called her and began to apologize, but she cut me off mid-sentence and went into a rant about how she always knew I was too good to be true and that I was hiding my true self from her. I snapped and told her that she was absolutely crazy to be this upset over this one instance. She hung up on me, blocked me, and sent a horrible message about me to her family group chat about how I had verbally assaulted her by calling her crazy. I am now blocked by my husband's whole side of the family on all forms of social media and have been told I am no longer welcome at family events. My husband packed up and went to stay with his mom and has been barely communicating with me. I attempted to reach back out to my mother-in-law to apologize, but I'm still blocked and my husband refuses to give her any messages. I am willing to accept that I am the here at this point, but just need to hear it from others. Story 7. AITA for telling my brother he'll probably end up bitter and alone. I 22M have a brother 27M and sister 29F. My brother didn't have an easy childhood. He was bullied at school and the other kids would tell teachers he was the instigator, they believed them and my parents believed the teachers. As a result my brother grew up quite isolated and anger became his main defense mechanism. He tends to fly off the handle quickly and lashes out at any and everyone. We never had a close relationship growing up, but we've bonded as we got older over how our childhood affected us all. Sis as the eldest felt copious amounts pressure to be perfect, and I as the youngest pretty much raised myself. Our parents have since apologized, but to be fair, they grew up thinking financially providing for your kids and not beating them was the epitome of good parenting. They didn't know where they were going wrong at the time and we were too young to articulate how we felt. We've had several open conversations about it since, they've apologized and we've been a united front for the last 4/5 YRS, minus some hiccups. We were at our parents' house over the weekend and my bro left a plate on the side after my mum had just done the dishes. My sister told my bro not to leave it, he got defensive and they started arguing. It was petty back and forth normal sibling stuff until my bro hit below the belt and said he doesn't know why she's so pressed about a plate anyway, she has bigger things going on in her house to worry about. For context, her and her husband have had money troubles and recently borrowed money from us to cover their mortgage. Sis didn't say anything, just started crying. I stepped in and told him he'd gone too far. He needs to learn to control his anger because all he ever does when faced with any minor conflict is go for the jugular and no one with any self-respect will stay around him. He's never been able to hold a relationship, GFS or friends. I went on a spiel and ended by saying his rough childhood doesn't give him license to be an insufferable prick who will probably end up bitter and alone. My dad and sis agree and think though harsh it's something he needed to hear, but my mum thinks I was out of line. We've spoken about therapy before, had many heart-to-hearts, but he's firmly against therapy and just doesn't change. TBH, I love him but it's exhausting being around him sometimes. I thought tough love would help, but he's blocked me on everything, so I think I may have gone too far. AITA? That's all for today. Please don't forget to like and subscribe.